It is September 14th, 2018.
And this is Nerd Bourbon, episode 67. I'm Seth Sturgill.
And I'm Todd Sturgill. You like my dramatic pauses there?
Yeah, you gave it a real William Shatner kind
I
of
know.
ring.
I'm gonna do the Shatner from now on.
I
Oh my god, have
mean,
I ever told you that shit?
what?
Well, so this is something. It's absolutely funny as shit. When if you ever scare my mother awake,
Uh-huh.
I call it the Shatner
Why?
because she wakes up, scrambles out of her room. She only has her shirt and her underwear on, and it's just her looking left and right so fucking quickly,
Isn't it funny how and we were kind of talking about this just a minute ago, how how animalistic you are when you first wake up, you know?
Yes.
Like how you just return to your most base animal primal senses.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Oh, dude, I'm ready to beat somebody's ass if they wake me up.
it's just funny, I'll wake up and sometimes I'll just wake up in a stupor and I'm just like, where the fuck am I?
Oh, dude, I've definitely had that shit where you wake up at it's like you're wondering what year it is. It's like,
Yeah, without Robin Will. Oh, yeah, is that some real shit. We um we have some we have a good show lined up for you today, as promised last week. Last week I said that we would be talking about Spider-Man this week, and that is true. When we recorded last week's episode and I said that, I expected us to come in here, ready to talk about it and having played it and stuff. I did not expect that we would come into this episode, as you like to say, Platinum Boys.
we the platinum boys.
Within the past week, you and I have both not only have played Spider-Man, but have both 100%ed and platinumed Spider-Man.
Yup.
So I feel like we have a pretty good leg to stand on in terms of talking about. But before we do that, Todd, what have you been up to this week?
Well, unlike you, because you fell off the game, I've been playing Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to talk about it. I was actually starting to go in on it when I was talking to you last night, and I was like, you know what?
Just one of those news
I'm
save
gonna
for the podcast.
yeah. I was I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna go in on the podcast. So
Yeah.
I put in a little more time. I'm right around 2:30. Sorry, 4:30. No, 5:30. My God, my dumbass. I forgot how high they raised this fucking power cap.
Yeah, they raised it a lot.
Yeah, it's so I'm around 5:30, heading up to 600, and the grind is fucking real. It's cool for the people that really like that grind, but at this point, it's not feasible at all for you right now,
No.
and it's about to be not feasible for me because it's just I'm about to start working probably by next week. So yeah. So I'm looking at the game when I'm unemployed, this game's fine. It's it kind of harkens back to Borderlands 2 back when I was looking for my first job anyways, where I was just sitting there hours on end. Not much, there wasn't really shit to do.
Right.
Because I was telling you, I was farming for my third seed of light for 6-7 hours. Nothing. And it's just when I said that, you're like, oh, what the fuck?
No, I'm good.
No, rightfully so. It's stupid. And I was actually just getting mad. I was just losing my shit a little bit because it's really the drop rate should not be this bad. I don't know what the fuck Bungie was thinking because the subclasses were such a selling point for me for Forsaken, and
Right.
but it's locked behind RNG. Fuck you.
It's a major selling point of the expansion in general. I mean, every trailer they're showing off.
No, they're showing off these new
You know.
subclasses. They look great, but it's all tied behind RNG, and I think that's a problem. I mean, I have issues actually going into since I've been playing it a little more. I don't like the way Clan XP is handled. I think
hate
the
it.
Clan
Yeah, I
XP
hate it.
should have never changed. Clan XP should have stayed the way it was, because one, for smaller clans, shit. I don't know if you haven't. Tyler actually left our clan, by the way. You actually have
Did he?
you have found her now again, by the way.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
I doesn't really do me any good.
I
'Cause
know.
I don't really.
I know.
I'm kind of done with
So yeah,
Destiny.
because for a smaller clan right now, it's just bro, you ain't doing that shit. What? Who am I gonna play? How am I gonna get
Yeah.
bounties done? Because it's I gotta get most of this shit's oh, play with a clanmate. I'm by myself right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and the counter to that is like, oh well, I mean, it's all ancillary anyway. That's basically just bonus engrams, but you kind of need
But
those when the grind is as real as it is.
everything right now is a big help. Like
Yeah.
you want to try to
Right.
knock out all these challenges because like one, I'm still not doing the nightfall because right now I can probably get away with it. Like but that's just me. Like the people I play with are still nowhere near me. Nowhere near me. They're like not even like 520.
Right.
So it's just like there's no way in hell that like I can even do the nightfall unless I like do like a group and I'm like go on like a LFG site bullshit. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not
No.
doing that. I don't care about that much. Um, but it's just like some of those changes are like I respect the quality of life for like the hardcore players, but it is definitely going to push that like the casual player, which was like you, and now it's like kind of pissing me off in the middle ground. Like I'm just like, the fuck.
When you fucking told me last night that you had been playing for like 6 hours and you still didn't have the thing that you wanted, I was like, Todd, no,
Dude, I was
I
telling you, like,
can't.
just yesterday, like, or 2 days ago or whatever, I finally got my first Forsaken exotic weapon.
Yeah,
Like, I
no.
was like, dude, the exotics
I
are so fucking rare. I mean, that's fine. The exotics can be rare, but, like, holy shit.
just literally, I cannot allow a game to waste my time like that.
Well, it's actually something I said this to you. I started to say this to you. Is like, at least with Monster Hunter, no matter what you're doing, you're still getting shit. Like, you're still getting materials for, like, other shit. Like,
Yeah,
the grind in that game is done so fucking well compared to like what's going on with Destiny in my eyes. Because it's like the grind is at least fun in like Monster Hunter. Like with Destiny 2, I'm sitting there doing the blind well, like about to like fucking kill myself because it's just like. I mean, the only thing that makes that shit tolerable right now is you got the assholes going around with the Telesto.
right.
Because there's a big old exploit with that. I'm honestly,
Exploit.
that
Yeah,
shit's gonna be fixed soon. They got to be fixing that.
right.
But like, until that shit's done, I mean, I'm gonna take advantage of it. I mean, I don't actually do it, but like, there's like 2 or 3 assholes usually in a group now, just sitting there shooting the ground with the fucking Telesto.
Yeah,
Like I told you how that works, right? Like they shoot the Telesto and like the explosions from the Telesto act like enemies.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you kind of explained how that works. It's a little, like you said, it's a little bit weird that it hasn't been like
It's
hot
been dude,
fixed.
it's like legit. I think it's been going on since like Blindwell, like since Forsaken kind of was a thing. So it's like I'm
Yeah,
surprised that they haven't like done a hot fix or something.
yeah.
It's like, but no, what they are gonna do is nerf the shit out of Coda Commander.
That's right. I remember you mentioning that.
Here's the thing though. I read about it. So what's going on is it's only part one of the nerf. Like there's actually technically a part two that's gonna like buff it back a little bit, but not to where it was. I was reading a little bit. It sounds fun. Like it actually does sound fun because like I love Coda Commander. It does sound like you're gonna be able to do multiple void detonators
Right.
instead of like because I mean I won't lie, that shit was a little OP if you think about it. Like one punch, I'll clear a trash mob.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's
So
neither here nor
I'm looking
there.
forward to like here's the thing. I still like want to play the game, but it's just like it's gonna get to that point like even like where you're at right now, where like I'm gonna start working and it's just like I'm gonna be caring about the games that are coming out. Like
Yeah.
I'm
I
not gonna
mean,
have the time for that anymore.
and I, I'll just repeat what I said before of like, you know, I have all these other games that like next on my plate. Really, I'm like, I dropped Destiny basically cold turkey. Spider-Man kind of helped me along that path, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah,
But
weaned you off a little
um,
bit.
yeah, it helped me along the path of like, you know what, I actually don't need to be playing Destiny. Um, but now that I'm done with Spider-Man, I've got Guacamelee 2 to focus on. I've got Hyperlight Drifter that I can play after that.
Shit, I'd prefer if you
Um,
played that next.
I'm already in the middle of Guacamelee. I'm
I
just
know.
gonna finish it. I've got Hyperlight Drifter next after that, and then I've got all these indie games. I've got The Messenger that I'm in the middle of playing. I've got, Hover is coming out next week. I want to do another playthrough of Undertale when that hits the Switch next week. Um, I've got plenty to keep me busy until Mega Man 11 comes out on October 2nd, and then Red Dead comes out. And then Red Dead comes out at the end of October.
It's
So it's
funny. It's
like,
funny. Is like I didn't think you were gonna get Red Dead.
I originally wasn't, but I just thought to myself, I was like, you know what? It's gonna. I think at the very bare minimum, it's gonna be good. Like I liked the first Red Dead.
Yeah,
Like
like to you, the first game was like very overrated. I don't know. I think I look at Red Dead Redemption through like some nostalgia glasses, just because I had like really really good memories of it, with like the multiplayer, with
yeah,
my
no,
friend Ronald.
yeah. Like I like Red Dead Redemption. The first game was good. I enjoyed it. Um, I thought there's a lot of missed opportunities with it, with the story. I thought it was vastly overrated. And the thing, I think I came into Red Dead Redemption with a bad taste in my mouth because I was working at GameStop at the time, and I was working the midnight launch for Red Dead. And what a lot of people don't remember is that game came out on the same day as Alan Wake, um, which is, to my mind, a far superior game.
Um,
Um,
I don't think it's fair to compare those games, but I do agree that
it's
Alan Wake's better.
it's not. I mean, they're very different games, but for me personally, Alan Wake is a far superior game.
I'll agree with that.
Um, but I was excited. I was like, oh man, like I'm buying both of these games at the midnight launch, and I was literally the only copy sold of Alan Wake that
Are you shitting me?
night. Yes,
Damn.
my copy of Alan Wake was the only copy we sold. So already, I like when I turned on Red Dead, a couple of weeks after, I was like, motherfucker, there's a reason Alan Wake's not doing well, you know.
Well, it's
Um,
like another thing is like,
that's not that game's
it's
fault.
got Rockstar behind it.
Yeah, and it's one of those Rockstar is one of those developers where like you kind of just want to see what they've been doing. If nothing else, it'll be a technological showcase. I think the game is going to be fun and good at a bare minimum. So I think it's going to be worth the price of admission. I'm looking forward to playing it. And it's another big reason why it's not. We have a video game podcast, so it's nice to stay current and to have things to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Other
so
than
yeah, I'm
like
gonna pick up
other
Red
than how I talked about Monster Hunter for fucking months.
Dead. Yeah, you talked about Monster Hunter every week from the months of like May until like I swear to God, I went back and listened to like an old episode for some reason or another, and it was like, "What you been doing this week?" Monster Hunter. Like, fuck.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm gonna pick up Red Dead. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to playing it. But my point is, the overall point is, I've got so much else on my plate that like I could literally just not even touch Destiny and be fine.
yeah, it's
You know
some
what I
real
mean?
shit. Like, I'm
So
basically waiting like from the when I actually start working. It's gonna really honestly like if I ever touch it, it's honestly just gonna be like I'm gonna make it like a once a week thing. I don't give a fuck. I'll jump there. I'll jump on there on like Tuesday and that's it.
yeah, I'm just for me, and then like hearing the reports from you and like the things that I've seen just in the limited time that I spent with Forsaken, I knew immediately that it was like a downward slope for me.
Hmm.
I was like, I knew immediately that this was just going to be a big old waste of my time. So I'm just at this stage in my life where I can't suffer things that will just blatantly waste my time anymore. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
yeah, I was watching one of the people I watched like on YouTube that does Destiny and like Twitch and shit. Bro, the motherfucker was like barely above me. He was like at 533.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
motherfucker, what?
I just can't like at this stage in my life. Like I'm about to be in about a month. I'll be a married man. I work full time. Like I have a lot of irons and a lot of fires, and I just cannot. I can't suffer bullshit anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have to play things that I'm enjoying, and I have to have them not waste my time. And I think that's a core tenet of like I am. That is my whole jam right there.
Hmm.
Is not fucking around, and Destiny right now is fucking around.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm over it.
Oh,
Honestly,
sh-
it pains me, but
you know what's gonna pain me is probably going right into a full time job after not working for 2 months.
oh, you're gonna get your ass
Oh, I'm
kicked.
dying. I'm
I was telling
fucking
you.
dying.
I was like, you've grown soft.
No, that's one of the few times where I'm like, oh, I agree. Like
your
it's
your baby feet will be
I
ruined.
said, dude, I said this is like it's gonna remind me of like when I first started working because my scoliosis, dude, my entire
Yeah,
like it's like my right side of my back would just go fucking numb.
yeah,
It'd be the
dude. The
weirdest shit.
back thing, the back thing is gonna be rough, dude. Even when Like even when I take like a week off of work, I come back and my feet and my back are just
Yeah,
wrecked.
the back thing's like I'm like predisposed for that shit. Like
Of course,
it's
of
just like
course.
it's. I don't know if you've ever had it. I think it's just like it might be just a scoliosis thing. It's like only half your back is numb. It's a weird
Right,
feeling. Weird
right.
fucking feeling, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. You're gonna have a rough time.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. But unless there was anything else, I think that's
Yeah,
pretty much
I
it,
think that
right?
was about it with what we've been up to.
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, for me, like this past week has just been all about Spider-Man.
Yep.
Every every waking moment that I've had has been either spent playing Spider-Man or thinking about playing Spider-Man.
That's honestly the same boat I'm in. Like honestly, like I'm done with the fucking game, and I'm still jumping on there to swing around.
Yeah, I devoured that game in a way that I don't normally have time to devour games. Like I made time
Mm.
to play Spider-Man. Like I was telling you, I woke up in the middle of the night. I only had like a couple of hours of sleep that day or something like that.
Oh.
I'd gotten off work that morning, and I woke up, and I'd only had like 2 hours of sleep, and I was dead fucking tired. And normally I would roll back over and go back to sleep like a healthy, normal human being would. But that morning, I was just like, no, I gotta play Spider-Man. I rolled out of bed just like Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, and I stumbled onto my couch and I played Spider-Man. And that's been basically the story of my life for the past week. It's just been nothing but Spider-Man. The game is great. Um, we're obviously going to get into much more detail, but like just on a base level, like the game is exceptional.
It's spectacular.
Really, it's amazing. It's really good. It's really really good. And I want to restrain from spoilers. I want to be very careful about spoilers. I think that you can safely listen to this podcast and not worry about us spoiling anything about the game. I want to speak in more broad terms.
Yeah.
There are things that I think that we are safe to talk about. There are things that I think have been revealed, like pre-release, that I don't think are a big deal to spoil. Like the inclusion of like Miles, for
Yeah.
example, was revealed ahead of release, so I don't think it's a big deal if we talk about characters like Miles and Mary Jane and Aunt May and stuff like that. Um,
I think
but
it's like we basically shouldn't just touch on the more interesting story beats, basically.
yeah, there are definitely some. I'll say this, and this was something that actually annoyed me pre-release of the game because they were showing so much, and I honestly kind of wish that they had like doubled back on it a little bit and like not shown as much as they did.
Well,
But
you basically said you wish they didn't show the prison thing at E3.
yeah, well, last E3 they showed like the big prison break sequence, which is it's 2/3 of the way through the game, literally, and it comes in pretty late into the game, and it kind of shows off basically the Sinister Six, and I was a little bit like, wow, I kind of wish they didn't show this because that would have been a
No,
pretty
that would
major
have been that
surprise.
would have been such a big fucking reveal while just
Right.
playing. Oh man, I would have lost my shit.
Because up until that point, there are really only like three maybe villains that you've dealt with, and they're pretty minor. Like
Hmm.
there's really one major villain that you're dealing with up until that prison break sequence.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of just like, damn, like the rest of it is sort of like world building stuff, and I want to definitely talk about that a little bit too. But um, I I really think that the game. I'll tell you what I like the most about the game. I like that the game did not overstay its welcome.
Hmm.
Like the game did not give me enough time to get sick of it. You know what I mean? Even though I don't think the game is perfect. There are things that I got sick of in the game. Um, that I'll talk about later. But I don't think the game is perfect, but I think the game is very, very good. I think that it is heads and shoulders above every other Spider-Man game we've had in the past.
Oh, no hesitation. Yeah.
It's an exciting new kind of Spider-Man universe, video game universe, in the way that like it reminds me of the excitement that I felt when I beat Arkham Asylum.
Hmm.
You know, and I was like, wow, this is a really exciting new Batman video game universe. By far the best Batman video game that has existed. And I'm just like, man, like this. I feel invigorated by the prospect of this Spider-Man
That's
universe.
that's actually the best comparison I think you could actually give.
Well, yeah, and Arkham Asylum definitely that game definitely like paved the way for this game
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. Like you don't get to do things in Spider-Man unless Arkham Asylum had paved that path first. I think that the importance of the Arkham series cannot be overstated. Um, but this game really does. I mean, the things that it needed to nail, it really nailed. I think it fumbled the ball in a few places that I think can be ironed out for a sequel, and I think a sequel is on. It's probably already greenlit, and I think it's a lock for, if not PS5, late PS4 maybe. But honestly, I think it's probably going to be a PS5 title before we get another one. Um,
I yeah, I can definitely see that.
yeah, I firmly believe that we're going to have PS5 in 2020. And I think it's probably going to be, 2020, 2021 before we see another Spider-Man game.
Which honestly, I'm fine with. Honestly.
Yeah, take your time with it. The game leaves some very interesting doors open for sequels.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to talk about the sort of like just on a base level, like the things that I love about this game bit by bit. I think the most important thing that they had to nail is how it feels to be Spider-Man and to swing in the city. And man, like they nailed it. You know what I mean?
That right there was amazing. That's the best. That's shit. I'm still doing it. Like I'm done. I'm 100% the damn game. I'm still jumping on there to just go around the city.
Yeah, the first time I turned the game on and just started the game. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the game literally opens and within minutes you're swinging.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's
And
actually something I do love. It's not really a spoilers thing, but like how it goes right from a cutscene to you playing. Like it's
that
smooth as
happens
shit.
often.
Yeah, it's smooth
Yeah,
as shit, and it feels so
yeah,
good.
yeah. And the game, much has been made about the game's graphics or whatever. I think the game looks beautiful in most places. I think there are some places where it looks a little bit ugly, but
Yeah.
by and large, I think the game is pretty beautiful.
Well, I think the both of us we care more about just gameplay over the graphics
Yeah. Oh
always,
yeah.
and like the gameplay is spectacular.
I'm a Nintendo fan for fuck's sake.
No, I know.
I definitely care about gameplay over graphics. So
I was about to make a joke like, "Oh, what? You're a Nintendo fan?" But
you don't say.
that's crazy.
Patiently waiting for the Nintendo Direct today. Yeah, no. But I think that I think that the game is beautiful, and I think that like just there are those just transcendent moments where you're swinging through the city and the soundtrack is like at a fever pitch,
Oh yes.
and like you just seeing like the kind of like golden orange like sunlight bathe over New York City, and that's just like I said, that's just a transcendent moment. Like that is just a like next level Cloud 9 moment that happens all the time just in normal gameplay in this.
Yep.
It is such a pleasure to just move around in the open world that there is a fast travel system in the game that I like never used. I legit only used it for the trophy.
That is. It's funny. It's the same for me. Like
Yeah.
I legitimately went to. I found like the fast travel system is involving the subway. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like I found a subway and I'm like, oh, how's this how it works? And it's like fast travel locked. I'm like, all right, cool. I was about to just clear this fucking thing.
Yeah, it's such a joy to just swing around that I just never felt the need. Like there could be objectives that were, 3,000,
Oh,
meters away or whatever.
3,000 meters away and even that far. Like
No, because you move so fluidly and so quickly through the city that it's, in a flash you can go from one end of the city and the other,
oh, I know that for a fact because when I was doing some of the later like little secret shit, when I was basically doing a grid search,
Right, right.
I legit just was going completely just fucking end to end, like going like move over a little to the left, end to end, like a little over to the left, end to end. Dude,
Yeah.
no time at all.
And I think that the open world design, and this is something that I think this game does better than, you know, the corollary to this is probably Insomniac's last game, Sunset Overdrive, which we both also really liked. But I think
I think
that
really
the
liked
thing
is
that
a understatement for me. I love that game.
I loved the traversal and the movement and the
Yeah.
world of that game. The story was kind of
Oh, the story
whatever,
was like the
and
story was shit. It's like
yeah, the
whatever.
story was whatever. And another thing that I think that Sunset Overdrive sort of failed at that Spider-Man absolutely nails is the sort of like side activities and the collectibles and stuff.
Oh, that's yeah. That's
Um,
I will agree with that.
Sunset Overdrive didn't really have that. It was just like it was a big open sandbox with a really fun way to play in that sandbox, but not really anything
Yeah, that
else.
yeah. The
You
movement in
know,
Sunset Overdrive was the main selling point for me, just because like shit again, like triple the time that you had in it, just moving around like an
right?
asshole.
Just like brainlessly going around. I think that and I think they nailed that in Sunset Overdrive. But again, the collectibles and the things to do in the world, I don't think was necessarily nailed. There is a ton of stuff to do in Spider-Man, and like even players that I know that are not normally into stuff like that are feeling compelled to go and like 100% the game
Yeah.
because the design of them is just so good. I mean, the first one that you unlock, this just speaks to this is just a very strong collectible. The first ones are these backpacks that Peter has put around the city, and each one has a sort of memento inside of it that Peter will commentate on. Right?
It's actually, I will say that the backpacks are still probably my favorite collectible.
They are. They definitely are. But like once that unlocked for me, I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. Like I did not progress through the story. I would literally story beat. More things would pop up on the map. Okay, clear those, and then next story beat. All
You,
right, clear
yeah,
those.
you basically did it exactly how I did it. It was just like, it was like a map clear thing. Boom. Oh, I had to do the
Yeah,
story. Cool. Map clear. Story. Map clear. Story. Map clear. Story. Until
yeah.
the end.
And the point is that um, the map clear and the side content is so good that you want to do
Oh
that.
yeah.
You know, in a weaker game where that stuff was not designed as well, you wouldn't care to do that.
No, not at
You know what
all.
I mean? All of the content is for the most part worthwhile. Even if I don't necessarily think all of it is well designed. Like there are some parts where I'm just like some of the side missions are. I'm like, oh, I'm chasing down pigeons now, and I'm
Well,
like flying
the
through
pigeon
fart
thing, the
clouds.
pigeon thing showed up multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I'm flying through these weird fucking fart clouds, and like it's a little.
Yeah,
Some of it felt a
some
little.
of those like with like involving like research stations and whatnot, like those like those map clear stuff was a little weird. But
Some of it felt a little like a little PS2. You know what I mean?
but is there something wrong with that?
No, I mean like I don't think it's necessarily. I can't give them like a pat on the back for that.
No, you can't give him a pat
Like
on the back, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Like I had fun with those
yeah,
some of them.
I
Because
didn't necessarily mind it, but I don't
well,
think it was
the
exceptionally
reason
good.
why I ended up enjoying them is when JJ comments on them later on.
Oh yeah, that's great. J.
That's
Jonah
the good shit.
Jameson. Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson in this game, and this is another important thing to mention is that um, the story picks up. You are 8 years. Peter is 8 years into being Spider-Man. It is not an origin story at all.
Which I'm
Um,
so happy about, by the way. Like I think
I
that's just
love that.
well, I think that's the best way to handle Spider-Man. Like everybody knows the origin story. Do we want to see Uncle Ben die? No.
Yeah, I don't need to see Uncle Ben get killed for the millionth time. You know what I mean? Everything. It feels like an established world that you're just picking up in the middle of, and like I'll talk about the story a little bit more in a minute, but JJ is funny because he's not running the Daily Bugle anymore. He has a podcast called Just the Facts with J. Jonah Jameson,
Oh, it is
and it's
it's an
delicious.
essential part of the game. Like the people that actually turn that shit off, you're missing the fuck out.
Yeah, you do have the option to unsubscribe from the podcast, but it is like yeah, that was such a core part of the enjoyment of the game for me. I would actually just stop and just listen
Yep,
to him
same.
commentating on my actions. But J. Jonah Jameson aside, I do think that that is one of the faults of the game is that some of the the side content, while it's worth doing, because you do earn tokens that you can then use to purchase like new suits and upgrades for your gadgets and stuff like
Suit
that.
mods, all that.
Yeah, so it's ultimately worth doing, but I don't think there's a chunk of it that I don't think is especially compelling from a gameplay standpoint. Um, and what I mean by that is like, yeah, there's some of that weird PS2 level stuff where you're collecting pigeons and flying through fart clouds, but there's also like there's also like the crimes, the random crimes that happen in the district, the different districts of New York. And my God, like there's so many of
You
them.
know nothing of suffering.
I was smarter than you. That's all.
uh,
I cleared things as they came. You waited until the end and cleared them
yeah,
all.
the crimes were a thing that like I did if I like swung past it, and I was like, "Ah, I'll knock this out." But by the end of it, I did not have a lot cleared. So
Yeah.
that was one of my final achievements was the 100% all the districts, and I swear like I think I lost my mind like doing it because like I definitely had to do almost 100 in one go.
Well, I mean, think about it. By the time you reach the end of the game, there are 20 different crimes
Hmm.
that you have to complete in probably I don't know how many districts are in the game. There's probably what, like eight, seven or eight,
Uh, Probably
I would
nine.
say.
Probably I think like nine.
Nine. Okay, well, in all but one of them, you've got 20 crimes to
Yeah,
complete
it hurt.
if you want to 100% the
It
game.
hurt my soul. Like
And
I,
the way you do this, we should mention, is you just aimlessly swing around until one pops up, and then you go and do it, and there's like, probably four or five different types of crimes, and you definitely start to get the repeated crimes, and granted there is a finite amount that you have to do for the completion, but it was just by the time I reached the end of the game, because several of the crimes are not even available to you until the final act
yep.
of the game. um it got to the point where it's like, fuck, I just have to do like 70 crimes right
Yeah, the
now.
fact that you had to do like 70, I already knew my ass had to do like over 100 in one go.
And it took forever, you know what I mean? And it just
Hmm.
got to the point where I was like, why? And I understand, it's hard to gripe about like optional content, but like
But
the
that's the
rest of
only
the optional content's so good,
yeah, and then
you
that's
know?
legitimately the only achievement that actually felt tedious. The only a trophy or whatever, only that
Right.
felt like tedious to me.
Yeah, the trophy list is very strong. It's a really great trophy list that is a joy to do for the most part.
Except for the crimes. Like I think the
Um,
crimes are honestly just the worst part. Like
yeah.
they're fun. Don't get me wrong. I like the crimes when I don't care to do them all in one fucking go. It's just something I can just like sit there and do, which is like technically how everyone should do it. Just enjoy their life. Enjoy their life. Get that platinum on their own time. Like,
Well, that's the. I mean, well, like that would be great, except for that not all the crimes are unlocked until the game
uh,
is basically over.
yeah,
So, like, I was able to get most of the first set of crimes done naturally, but then when I got to the point where the game is basically almost over, and then you have to do the rest of them, it's like, well, fuck, you know. And look, you don't have to do any of these, but if you're going for 100% completion, if you want to, like I said, the the suits and the upgrades and the gadgets and stuff are locked behind the tokens that you get from them.
hmm,
So you do sort of have to do them if you want to sort of enhance your Spider-Man. Um, so it may be optional, but it is sort of like it's sort of not optional,
yeah, it's
you know?
optional, but it's kind of required.
Yeah, optional requirement,
There
you
you go.
know?
That's a good way of putting it.
Uh, and it's just it's weird, like, so I do think that some of that stuff is a bit of a miss, and another thing that I think can be polished um even further in the next game. So there are sections where, and this isn't a spoiler because this has been shown pre-release, where you play as Mary Jane or Miles, right? And those sections are sort of like stealth based sections,
Yeah,
and for the most part I think they're actually pretty fun.
yeah.
um,
They like never like annoyed me or anything. I enjoyed them for the most part.
They didn't necessarily annoy me. I do think that the on foot movement can be polished up in general.
Yeah, I
For
can
the
definitely
next
agree with
game,
that.
I think that there's a weird juxtaposition where you are going so fast as Spider-Man and you're swinging and everything is so fluid that when you're on foot, you just feel chunky. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like when I was playing as like MJ or Miles, I always wished I was moving just a little bit faster and more fluidly. Um, and I don't know. I guess it just feels a little like you feel almost tanky when you're playing like as the kind of behind the shoulder, you know,
Yeah.
third person. Like in those moments, whether you're playing as Peter, MJ, or Miles, you feel a little like I don't know, a little heavier and weightier than you should. And I feel like that movement can be like polished up upon, and I think there could be more interesting things to do when you're in those sections. Um, I think they could have had us do cooler things with MJ and Miles than just exclusively stealth
Well,
sections.
like I think I'm not gonna say the first mile, like no, not the first one. The second mile section is like really, like why is that even a section?
Yeah, and I'm just I'm also just like in the stuff you're doing with Peter. When you are playing as Peter is not especially interesting, even though I liked it just fine. Like the puzzles that you have to do, they were fun. I thought they were fine little distractions. You know what I mean?
That's yeah. I'd be sitting there in like a very tense story moment. I'm just be sitting there and doing those like just chilling.
Yeah, yeah, and like they're fine little distractions, and I liked them. There's basically two sets of puzzles that you can complete when you're kind of playing as Peter in the lab and stuff, and I liked the inclusion of that, and they were fine. But like it also, I was just like, there's nothing. I can't do anything more interesting as Peter. You know what I mean? Like I can't take on, I can't take on little odd jobs to help around the feast center or something like that. You know, it'd be cool to like, it'd be cool to have like kind of a duality in the game, a true duality in the game where it's like, okay, I have all this big hero shit that I have to do as
But yeah,
Spider-Man.
what about the Peter Parker shit?
But
I
what
agree. Like that would actually be awesome. Actually, I would actually really enjoy if you could actually do more like that.
it would be nice in the sequel to see them expand upon the true duality in terms of gameplay because like I mean think about that that's a core component of the character of Spider-Man is the sort of like struggle and inability to balance his kind of role as Spider-Man and his role as Peter Parker, you know. And I would like to see that expanded upon in gameplay. There's plenty of story stuff that happens to Peter when he's outside of the suit, but I would like to
Not
actually,
like that. Like, yeah, just to get some like pure
yeah,
like Peter Parker gameplay.
I'd like to do some more interesting things as Peter Parker.
Uh,
You know,
I agree.
um, I don't know. That's really where my complaints about the game end, though. I really, as we were talking about and we kind of alluded to earlier, I think the way they've handled the story, and this sort of universe, this sort of place in
Hmm.
the video game universe, I think the way they've handled that is pretty genius.
Oh yeah.
I love. Obviously, we can't talk about some of the more interesting things that are happening with the story, but what I will say, um, just in a vague sense, um, let me word this carefully. There there are some very interesting characters that show up in this game, and there are characters and there are things that you see coming a mile away. But then there are equally as many, if not more, surprises
Hmm.
of characters that either don't happen when you think they're going to, or don't show up when you think they're going to, or when they do show up, or when something does happen with a character, it does not happen the way you expect it to.
Yeah.
Um, and the game does a really brilliant job of flipping moments like that on their ear, where it's like, oh wow, like there were a couple moments, especially towards the end of the game, where I like just kind of like had my hand over my mouth, like holy shit.
There's a yeah. There was a moment. There was a moment in the game where I legitimately stood up from my chair and like left my room. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, you just there are just moments that are so shocking where I'm just like, wow, like even if it's something that's been done before in Spider-Man, in different facets of Spider-Man's
Mm,
history and different takes on the character, I just can't help it but wow, like the balls on these
yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
you know, for them to take this character in this direction and like and I think that like I said, the game doesn't overstay its welcome. I mean, inside of a week even me, as busy as I am, I was able to platinum the game. You can probably 100% the game inside of 25 to 30 hours.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know,
hard to 100% this game.
no, and it doesn't and it's all enjoyable. There's going to be very few times where you'll feel frustrated doing it.
Hmm.
It's a very again, the game just does not. It goes back to what I was saying before. The game does not has no interest in wasting your time. You know what I mean? And the story missions do not feel like fluff whatsoever. Um, I just it's brilliant, and I think that they nailed the relationship of Peter and MJ. Um,
I think you said that multiple times. It was your favorite part.
it's my favorite part of the story for sure
Yeah.
is the relationship he has with MJ because you sort of start the game and they're not together, but there's all this weird we don't really the game never really says what happened.
Yeah.
Like they say it in broad terms, but we don't know the finer details of what happened between them. And throughout the course of the game, you're sort of it's sort of like are we, aren't we? And there are a couple of conversations they have where I was just like, wow, this is just too real for me right now.
You said, yeah,
Like
you legitimately said that shit multiple times. This shit's too real.
it's just weird because there are conversations they have, especially and maybe this is a little spoilery, I guess, but there are a couple of conversations they have via text message, and I'm just like, fuck, this is too real right now. I was like, man, I've literally had conversations via text or the conversation they have in the diner. I have literally had those moments in relationships past that have played out exactly like that. You know what I mean? And the writing in general in this game is so earnest and so genuine. The game absolutely, and with its writing, just nails the tone of Spider-Man. It nails the good-hearted. I really like fiction, and I really like things that are just about good people. And that's something that's what's always kind of attracted me to Spider-Man is just the good-hearted nature of his world, I
Hmm.
guess. And I don't know, I think they really nailed that in the writing of the game and the kind of the way that this version of Peter is portrayed and there's certain parts where I'm just like fuck, this just feels so genuine and real. These characters in a very short amount of time really got me to care about them. You know what I mean?
That's some real shit.
Um, I got really invested in the world that Insomniac has built here, basically immediately. You know, um, I think that some of the portrayals of the characters are some of the best that there have ever been. This is one of my favorite Aunt Mays, for example.
It's got that good
Uh,
balance.
yeah, we talked about that where it's always a little bit weird because Aunt May is either a little too young, like how she is in the current MCU movies. She's a
Yeah.
little too young and hot, and it's a little weird. Or she's like Grandma Aunt May, like she is in the Sam Raimi movies, and it's
I think honestly, I think this game has almost a perfect anime balance.
yeah, where
It's
Aunt May doesn't have to be some old decrepit woman. She doesn't have to be in her 30s either. This Aunt May is she's in her 50s. She's like an aunt. You know what I
hmm
mean? She isn't Grandma May. She's Aunt May. You know what I mean? And she still has that very matronly um, kind of vibe to her, where she still feels like kind of a second mom to Peter, but she um she doesn't she doesn't come off as any weird. There's no weirdness with her character at all, and I think her role in the game makes perfect sense. And they do interesting things with her character, and she's in the game just enough. She's not annoying.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I really like the way they handled her. I like this take on Mary Jane, where she's an investigative journalist. She's not just that kind of sexy girl next door, you know, supermodel or anything like that.
hmm
I think they've taken the character of MJ and made her very real and believable, and like when she's mad at Peter when they get into an argument or something like that, it makes sense and you can see her side of things. They don't make her seem like just the crazy bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They do such a great job with how the characters are actually handled in this game.
They're all very well humanized and everything feels well considered. All of the characters feel well considered. All the motivations makes sense. There was never a moment where I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense for that character to do that. And if a moment like that did happen, there was a reason behind that too. You know what I mean? So I gotta commend Insomniac and the writers of this game because I think they really did a bang up job with the story. And I think that this world is so interesting and so like it's got me so invested in what's happening next. I really can't wait to see more from Spider-Man.
Well, that right there is like that was like the first thing I said to myself after I beat it. I was like, shit, when's the next one?
Right, and I think that is the thing that this that is the thing that this game does really well is like I said, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It leaves you wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
It's the perfect first outing. It's the perfect first game in a new series. You know what I mean? Um, and I think this is. I think Insomniac Spider-Man is going to be a new series for Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, the second game is likely already greenlit. The game has been selling phenomenally well. Um, it's already outsold. I think it sold even faster than God of War this year, which surpassed expectations. I think it's already the fastest selling Marvel video game of all time.
Damn.
So I mean, it's broken several records. It's doing very well for Sony, and it's going to be a very lucrative series for them moving into the next generation. I can't wait to see more. And I've been talking about this lately as I'm playing it. I'm like, man, Sony really should just snatch Insomniac up and
Oh,
just add them to their first party roster.
that would be a power move right there.
Well, it's something that I'm a little bit worried about, and I've been talking about this sort of privately, over the past week or so. I'm worried about Sony moving into the next generation because we sort of know all of they've kind of played their cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we have their first parties, we kind of know what they're all doing. The studios that they own, Sucker Punch, likely next year is releasing Ghost of Tsushima. We know what they're doing, right? Naughty Dog is working on The Last of Us 2, which is going to release next year, right? They've got Death Stranding in the works. In other words, we know a lot of what Sony has on the docket for their first party releases. There are not a lot of unknowns. And that makes me nervous
Mm-hmm.
because we're hot on the heels of a new generation of consoles. And I'm like, so hang on a second. So Naughty Dog's going to drop, say Last of Us 2 drops, 2019 from Naughty Dog, right? And then 2020 PS5 releases, and we're just not going to hear anything from Naughty Dog for like several years. You know what I mean? There's just not going to be a Naughty Dog game probably until 2021, 2022 at the earliest. You know what I mean? And like Sucker Punch. I mean, they're going to release Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, and then we're just not going to hear from them for a while on PS5. And they've got Sony Bend working on what's that fucking game? Oh, why am I blanking on the name of the game? The zombie game. The motorcycle zombie game.
Shit. Days Gone?
Days Gone. Days Gone. Thank you. We've got that just goes to show you how how much mindshare Days Gone has. And I think the game looks cool, but
Yeah, I almost like completely forgot about that game. Like honestly, you had to say zombie and motorcycle. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah, I just completely blanked on Days Gone. But yeah, Days Gone is coming out this coming February, and like Sony Bend is now they're done. You know what I mean? Like everybody's blown their load here at the end of PS4's life, and Sony doesn't have enough capital in terms of first party studios to really come into PS5 swinging.
Yeah.
And I think that Sony has a level of cockiness and confidence in themselves where they're like, oh, well, we don't need to. We don't need to have our first parties ready for PS5
It's
because
wrong.
we're Sony.
It's a
You know
bad
what I mean?
move. Bad move.
Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the fence, you've got Microsoft, who has purchased 15 plus studios that are all making games for Xbox. And, this is always the bad thing when a kind of when the developer or the manufacturer, the publisher, or whatever, when they get cocky, it's always a bad thing. When they get too confident, that's how you get the PS3. You know what I mean? like Sony won the whole PS2, Xbox, GameCube war, and then coming into PS3, they were cocky, right? And they're like, "Oh no, we got this. We can charge, $600 and have no games on it basically for the first 2 years of its life, and we'll be fine."
And it's such a shit system.
And it's a system that never really found its footing. I mean, I like PS3 just fine. I think it had some truly great games on it, but overall, that system was a bit of a failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. And then coming into PS4, it's like, okay, you've taken this war and you've won. What you don't need to do, the last thing you need to do, is be cocky moving into PS5 and not have anything. Because I'm telling you, the way that gamers abandon Xbox. I mean, dude, and you know this as well as I do. The last generation, nobody. Like, it was almost exclusively everybody was playing on 360.
Oh yeah, 360. Like 360 was where it was at for me. That was my system. Like, I had a PS3. I hated it. I was like, I fucking want to play that shit.
And then and I've long been a PlayStation fan, so it was not a hard switch for me. But for like a gamer like you in particular, where Xbox was really your bread and butter, for a gamer like you and many others to basically instantly make that switch to PlayStation.
Oh, because it was just what was going on with the Xbox One. I was just like, there's nothing to do here. Like,
I mean, Microsoft dropped the ball with Xbox One, and like Sony was happy to take all of those Xbox gamers away. But like, you better believe, just as quick as they moved over to PlayStation, they will move back over to Xbox just as quick.
Oh, that's honestly, because we talked about this like off the podcast. It's just like Xbox is gonna basically going into the next generation swinging with like all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? They've been in this place, and this is why competition is a good thing. Xbox has been in this place where they have had to incorporate very consumer-friendly ideas like backwards compatibility, which, was not supposed to work whatsoever. They straight up said like literally, we don't even, our engineers are wizards. We don't know how we got this to work, but it works.
That shit's actually crazy, honestly. Like, me jumping on like Modern Warfare 2 and having like all my shit, that's crazy to me.
The fact that you were able to put your Modern Warfare 2 disc in, your disc, into your Xbox One, and not only did it work and you were able to play Modern Warfare 2, but your game save was like in the cloud and all of your unlocks were still there.
That shit blew my mind. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. From, 8 years ago or whenever that game came out. So I mean, it's crazy. It's that, like, and then like Game Pass is a phenomenal new service that is extremely consumer friendly. The Xbox All Access subscription that they're talking about rolling out. I mean, these are very consumer friendly ideas that are. I'm telling you, moving into the next Xbox, people are going to be on board with this stuff. I think Microsoft is not going to be comfortable dropping the ball again on the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've proven that with they've sort of said, and they'd never obviously come out and say this, but what I got from the last E3 especially was like, okay, look, like, we lost this generation and we know that. You know what I mean? Like, they're doubling down on hardware, they're doubling down on consumer friendly initiatives, and they're saving their games for what's next.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not releasing, they're releasing like stuff like Crackdown and stuff like that, but like, and Gears of War and stuff. But like, the next Xbox is really where you're gonna see all of these first parties that they've now purchased are gonna really come to the fore. I mean, think about it. The fact that they purchased Ninja Theory, the next Ninja Theory game is gonna be only on Xbox, Todd.
I know, that's yeah.
So, like, if you want to play the next game from the Hellblade guys, you're gonna have to have an Xbox, or you're gonna have to, give them money. I think they bought, they made a lot of smart purchases, like the guys that make State of Decay, which has long been kind of an Xbox, brand anyway.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people really like that. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just look this up real quick, just to verify. But didn't they buy Playdead?
That sounds right.
Could have sworn that they bought. I don't know. They bought a lot of. Let me actually just look up real quick. Developers that Xbox bought. Because they purchased a lot of internal studios. They announced 5 of them. Yeah, they announced 5 of them at E3. They bought. Okay, this is what it is. Playground. They bought finally because Playground is who makes the Forza Horizon series, which Forza Horizon has been like a long Xbox exclusive brand anyway. But now they've kind of made it official. They bought Undead Labs, which the team behind State of Decay. The Initiative, which is an entirely new studio that Microsoft has started, made with a lot of guys from Crystal Dynamics, which are creators of Tomb Raider. They bought Ninja Theory, and they bought Compulsion Games, who make We Happy Few. They made a couple of like indie games, and they've since bought more studios. So I mean, you got to think about these people are going to be making games for the next Xbox. They're working on them right now. You better believe it. You better believe it. They're making games right now for the Xbox 2 or whatever the fuck they're going to call it. and Sony better be worried.
Yeah. As you said in a text to a friend of ours, Sony needs to get the money out their ears.
Yeah, I mean they really do. They're so focused on like, PS4 has taken this generation and ran with it, no doubt about it. The system will likely go on to sell 100 million units. There's no doubt about that. It's an incredible achievement for Sony, but like, I just really don't want them to shoot PS5 in the foot by being cocky and saying like, oh no, we don't need games. We're all of our PS4 gamers are going to migrate over. It's going to be fine. When you've got Xbox who, dollars to fucking donuts, Todd, I promise you, when the next Xbox comes out, they're going to have games from all of these studios that I just mentioned. They're going to have, it's still going to be the place where you get Gears of War and Halo and stuff like that. But they're also going to be making all this new stuff. And they're going to also have stuff like backwards compatibility and Game Pass and the all access subscription. All this
and
stuff.
At that point, Xbox will be way more interesting to me. At that point,
it's going to become much more of a universal place to play all these games. And so things that I think Sony really needs to be doubling down on, if we already know, Sony does not have that many first parties. We already know what most of them are doing. So it's like when PS5 comes out, like you better believe PS5 has got to have backwards compatibility. It needs it. It better at least play my PS4 games at minimum.
Some real shit.
At minimum, Todd. They need to, and really, if they were smart, they would make it. If they would make it to where you could at least play PS4 and PS3 games, because it's nuts to me that I cannot play PS3 games on my PS4, and it's nuts to me that I can stream them from their shitty PS Now service.
I've never used that. Have you used it?
Yeah, I tried to use it. It's not good. I tried to play Force Unleashed with it, and not only am I not able to stream from the internal hardware that they have for streaming on PS4 using PS Now, you can't stream PS Now games.
Why not? The fuck?
I have no idea. I have literally no idea. I'm assuming since it's streaming, it's like internet based, but also since it is streaming, you incorporate the idea of like lag. So like every now and then you'll get a little lag spike and your game just doesn't work. You know what I mean?
God bless.
Because you're streaming it. And I don't think game streaming is really the way to go. Like you need to put, even if they simply put these games up on the storefront for me to purchase or re-download or whatever to have digitally, like there needs to be a solution. Like the fact that there are some PS2 games, not all of them, like why don't you just, the fact that I can turn on my Vita or my PS3 and have PS1 games, but I can't do it on my PS4. Like that's stupid. Like on my Vita, I have like Chrono Trigger and Symphony of the Night and finally, all these great PS1 games, and I just, for no reason at all, can't play them on PS4.
It's a little dumb.
That makes no fucking sense. And that these are the kind of consumer-friendly things that Sony doesn't have to think about because they're on top, but they better start thinking about them if they want to stay on top. You know, stupid things like the fact that you still can't even change your screen name on PSN. Like, you still can't even, like, if I ever wanted to not be Winter Cereal or whatever.
It's actually funny. I was actually thinking about this. If that shit ever came, I might actually switch back to my old shit.
But you couldn't do it right now.
I know.
You know what I mean?
If it ever comes, though.
It's just stupid. It's just dumb shit like that they need to iron out. And, like, yes, like there are things like PSN needs to be faster. It needs to be snappier. For example, downloads. Why does it take so fucking long to download something on PSN?
That's some real shit. 'Cause, like, I actually, since I recently started using the Xbox One a little bit with, like, the Game Pass and shit, my God.
Yeah. There's no excuse. When I download something on PSN, I'm downloading it so much more slowly than I would be if I were using, my Xbox or my PC. My internet, in other words, my internet connection is faster, and like something about PSN's infrastructure.
It just fucks with it.
Yeah, and then even that you download the update, and then you have to like copy the update,
And the
which
copying usually takes longer than the actual. Yeah.
It's like all these little kinks that need to be ironed out if you want to keep your consumer base. You know what I mean? If you want to keep these people, and you got to do it on the strength of ideas like this. If you don't have the fucking games, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think Sony's got a lot to worry about going into this next generation, and I really hope that they're smart about it. I mean, look, they're a smart company, and I love PlayStation, and I will be happy. I'll be the first person to buy a PS5, but like, I really want PS5 to not just be what PS3 was for me, and what PS3 was for me was just a place for me to play the exclusives. You know what I mean?
That's some real shit. Yeah.
It was just a way for me to play the first party games, and
That's funny because it's exactly what Xbox One is for me.
Well, it's not like that for me, Todd, because there's no exclusives.
There's no exclusives out anymore.
So
exclusive hasn't come out in like God knows how long.
Probably Gears 4 was probably the last, or Sea of Thieves, I guess. If you want to,
I play that shit on PC though.
So, and you can do that right from now on now with Xbox. So it's like, all right, but for Sony, like, yeah, I'll own a PS5 to play the exclusives, but I want it to still be. I would love it if just like PS4, if PS5 was still my home main console. You know what I mean? Because PS4 is definitely my main console. Like, that is the one that, besides Switch, I guess, that is the one that I play the most. And so I hope that PS5 is the same way.
Yeah.
I hope they don't drop the ball, I hope they start thinking about the consumer and not just about the money. I mean, they're a business. They have to think about the money. But, like, I want them to, for just a split second, pretend like you're losing again. Pretend like you're losing again, even though you're winning. Otherwise, you're gonna be.
That's how everybody should just go in their life. Just always pretend that you're losing, so you can just strive to be better.
Even when you're winning, pretend like you're losing.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid note to end it on. Todd, do you agree?
I definitely agree.
And TLDR, Sony, please don't fuck up the PS5. Everybody go play Spider-Man. It's very, very good. Anyway, Todd, you got anything else you want to say before we wrap it up this week?
I think that's about it.
Alrighty, that's been Nerd Bourbon for you guys this week. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.
Hey there, thanks for checking out another fantastic Nerd Bourbon video. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, leave us a like, drop us a nice comment, or I guess a mean one if that's your prerogative. But until next time, get dunked on.